just read the first packet. Yes, sir, dear.
But it was turned sideways.
You're good to go.
Through some of that, I goes, why the hell? I said, I could be here all day.
Because I've already signed it. It just looked like it was separate from mine. Thanks. Michelle should give you.
Everyone hold their breath.
It's now 6:30. The December 7th work study session will begin. We'll start with the officials' reports. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you.
This past weekend, our annual Santa Express train rides at Kiwanis Park were once again a tremendous success. The kickoff event was our annual tree lighting ceremony and caroling on Friday, December 2nd. I'd like to thank all of the residents and elected officials who braved the cold weather and once again took part in this very special Southgate Christmas tradition. Adding to the ceremony were the angelic voices of the Grateful Praise a cappella group from the Gateway Church on North Line in Southgate. Council member Karen George, a member of the congregation, also joined the group this year for the Christmas caroling. Father John Secolario, the pastor of St. George Orthodox Church, also added an appropriate blessing that reminded everyone of the true reason for this blessed season. Everyone enjoyed welcoming Santa and presenting him with the key to the city, so he's able to visit all the good boys and girls on Christmas Eve in Southgate. And special thanks to 6-year-old Wayne Ferenz, who assisted with the tree lighting and key presentation. Over 1,500 residents and visitors boarded Santa's Christmas Express train to take the ride to Southgate's North Pole and visit with Santa. This brings our 13-year total, and I can't believe it's been 13 years, but 13-year total to well over 20,000 riders. Special thanks to the Great Lake Live Steamer Group for providing the trains and helping to assemble the wide array of Christmas lights and displays that filled Kiwanis Park with joyful colors and Christmas images. Two very special Christmas elves should also be acknowledged, Jim Austin and Bob Hines. These two gentlemen truly added to the children's joy and family memories. I'd also like to thank all of the student volunteers from Davidson Middle School and Anderson Senior Skaters, as well as my wife Kim, for once again spending her birthday weekend at the park. It always seems to fall around her birthday. Our Council President Zoe Cuspa for spending hours welcoming guests for Santa. The Southgate DDA, the Southgate Parks and Recreation Department, and our DPS crew who also assisted in preparing the park and making sure that the event ran smoothly. Lastly, we could not put on this wonderful event without our generous sponsors. This year's event sponsors were J-Bro Carpet and MJR Theater. The Christmas light display sponsors were the Southgate Fire and Police Departments. And our North Pole sponsors were the Southgate Rotary, our school board secretary, Darlene Pomponio, the Guidance Center, and Sam's Club. For anyone who missed the Santa train rides and wants to see more Christmas illuminations, Market Center Park will be aglow with thousands of twinkling lights and numerous holiday displays during the 3rd annual Light Up the Park event. Weather permitting, this free family event will begin on Sunday, December 11th, and run through the end of the year. Each night, residents and visitors will have the opportunity to stroll through the park from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. and enjoy the beautiful lights and take photos at the various Christmas displays. This year we'll feature an enhanced Christmas tree display sponsored by over a dozen Southgate businesses and individuals. The special North Pole mailbox will also be placed under the pavilion for any letters to Santa Claus. And Santa makes a return trip to Southgate on Sunday, December 11th from 11 to 1 p.m. at our Southgate Historical Museum. This event offers an opportunity to take family photos with pets. They are accepting pets also at the museum with the Jolly Old Elf. There is no fee, but donations to the Historical Society are welcome. Our Southgate YMCA is also offering up some holiday fun on Friday, December 16th from 6 to 8 p.m. This is a no-charge event and is open to the public, to both members and non-members. The holiday fun will include caroling with the Wyandotte Academy Youth Choir, ornament decorating, cookies and cocoa, family games, and a visit with Santa. Last meeting, I announced that Angel's Garage, which airs on the Peacock Network, will be in Southgate this month to film a very special holiday episode. Each year, the show provides a newly restored vehicle to raffle off with the proceeds benefiting a charitable organization. This year's car is a 1970 Mustang Mach 1, and the charity that was chosen was the U.S. Marines Toys for Tots organization. The show's producers and stars, Angela and Mark Babala, have downriver roots and wanted to share where they came from with their audience. Therefore, they decided to have the raffle drawing for the Mustang at Southgate Ford. The event will also feature members of the U.S. Marines, actor R.J. Might from the Breaking Bad television series, Detroit Lions running back Jamal Williams, and other special guests. The Toys or Tots event and the raffle will actually begin at 5:30 p.m. on Thursday, December 15th at Southgate Ford on 4th Street. The event is free and open to the public. Raffle tickets for the 1970 Mustang Mach 1 are still available. They're $5 each, and they're available at a website called myevent.com/Toys for Tots. Once again, our lobby of our municipal building is alive with the holiday spirit. 13 magnificent Christmas trees and dozens of student art creations adorn the foyer area. The artwork was created by students from Fordline, Grogan, Allen, and Shelters Elementary Schools. The project was coordinated by art teachers Lynn Costas and Greg Luna. With the makings of a new Southgate City tradition, the 13 Christmas trees were decorated by our employees. Each department chose a tree and adorned it with department-specific decorations. Even the Veterans Court and our city planner joined in on the effort. Everyone showed great imagination, creativity, and even a bit of humor. Our Historic Museum also created a special Christmas display for their lobby showcase. Special thanks to the Girl Scout Troop 76473 and their parents for setting up and preparing the trees for decorating. It is certainly worth a trip to our municipal building to experience these wonderful trees and art creations, which will be on display now through the first week of January. Lastly, and perhaps the most important officials' reports will take place in a few moments. Our 2021-22 fiscal year municipal audit. I look forward to the presentation by our independent auditing firm, Plant Moran, and I appreciate all the work that they have undertaken in auditing our records and commend the work that our finance department and the members of my staff who were part of that process. This is a transitional year for our finance department, so I appreciate very much that our recently retired finance director, David Angelari, is here to answer any questions that might be asked since it was under his guidance that this year took place. And I would believe that our residents and our employees, as well as members of this council, will once again be pleased with this report. Due to our collective actions that we have all taken, the city of Southgate continues to move forward in a stable footing. So thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
No report, thank you.
Mr. Treasurer?
Good evening. Just that the winter taxes went out December 1st, so you should have them in your hot little hands. And they are due, I want to say, I think the February 14th. It's in February, so it's a shorter period than the summer taxes. If you still haven't paid your summer taxes, you need to pay those also by that same date so they don't get turned over to the county. But that's it. I'll no report.
Thank you. Councilman Roush?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to remind everyone, the senior Christmas party, the deadline is tomorrow. It's $15. It is the 15th. The event will start at 11 o'clock with bell ringers, and lunch will be at 12. So if you need a ticket for the senior Christmas party, you need to do it by tomorrow. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Zemecki?
Yes, on the obits, we got Dan Click, Paul Lingo, Joseph Whalen, Richard Duda, Dennis Bennett, Billy Costner, and Antonio Garcia. And Polish proverb for the week: in Russia as one must, in Poland as one will.
Thank you. Councilman Graziani?
The last time we were here, I'd indicated a date and time was to be determined for a continued Board of Zoning Appeals hearing. That date and time has been set for Monday, December 12th at 5:30 p.m. And of course, it's open to the public.
The school board met, business is as usual. However, one thing is going to be changing, coming in the 23-24 school year. As many of us know, Garish became Beacon Day Treatment, and that's, run by Wayne Risa. However, we're going to be ending that contract, in the 23-24 school year, and that will be taken over by Lincoln Park. So although it was great for the district, it's a great program for a lot of our special needs, students. It won't be ending, it'll still be in Garish, but Lincoln Park will be taking it over. Councilman Clovis.
Thank you, Councilperson. Just want to thank the city treasurer for the Christmas card that I received today in the mail, also known as winter taxes. We'll make sure to get those paid right away. Want to welcome, Ed Zelenak is not here tonight, our city attorney, but he's being filled in his shoes, maybe more of a lady's shoes, by his daughter, who also is an attorney, Amelia Zelenak, so welcome tonight. And so also, the City of Southgate Christmas Home Decorating Contest that's sponsored by the Cultural Arts and Special Events Commission, also known as CASE, is also going to be having their annual Christmas photo op of your homes, and anybody that wants to submit a photo. They're asking that 2 photos be submitted online, and that being one during the daytime and one in the evening. And they should be sent to CASE, C-A-S-E, at southgatemi.gov. CASE at southgatemi.gov. Please include your name, address, telephone number. The deadline for the entry is December 26th. And if you have any questions, please contact Robin Craig, and that's our CASE chairperson, at 734-258-3013. 734-258-3013. There'll be a future meeting. In fact, January 18th is what they're calling for, to give first, second, and third. And that will be a $100 gift card for first place, $50 gift card for second place, and $30 gift card for third place. So look forward to seeing those and seeing the winners. Thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you. Councilman Farah.
Thank you. I have no report this evening.
All right, next up is the audit presentation, so I'll bring up Plant Moran. If this does go past the work study session, we'll just come back in the regular meeting, but we'll have to adjourn and then come back.
Okay, I will do my best to keep this to 15 minutes. So thank you. Good evening. My name is Bill Brickey with Plant Moran, and here today to discuss the audit for the year ended June 30, 2022. There are 3 separate deliverables we're going to talk about briefly tonight. First would be the financial statements, the large bound packet. We have our report to Mayor and City Council, and finally we have the graph presentation, which we handed out here tonight. So we have covered all these documents in great detail with management and plan to just do a high-level overview for you today. So before we get started, I want to take just a moment and really thank David, Darcy, Doug, Dan, your entire team for all their efforts throughout the audit. They really do a great job preparing for us and helping us complete the audit in an efficient manner. And special thanks to David for all of his years of service. It's going to be very strange coming here and not working with him. So the first thing I'd like to cover is our audit opinion. So included in the financial statements on page 1 is our opinion on your financial statements. So this is our main deliverable to you as your auditor. And the city did receive an unmodified audit opinion, again in the current year. So that's often referred to as a clean opinion, and it means the financial statements are in compliance with all the rules and regulations. The next document I'd like to talk about is our end of audit letter. It's the 9-page letter that really includes 3 separate sections. It has the first section, which is our report to you on any internal control matters we identified. The second section relates to audit-specific items we reviewed, and then the final section is just legislative items. And really just want to spend just a moment on page 2, and this is our internal control-related matter. So we did have one audit finding in the current year. This is a recurring item, and this really just relates to the fact that as part of the audit, we assist the city in closing the books for the end of the year and preparing the financial statements. So we've detailed out the various sections that we kind of help with there. As your auditors, we are allowed to provide this service to you. We just have to let you know in your role as council members that we indeed did help the city close the books and complete the audit for the current year. We'll note that the number of journal entries we continue to find and post continues to go down, so your team continues to take on more. But there are certain things that sometimes it's just more efficient to have us help do it as opposed to having them do it on their own. The next part of the letter begins on page 3. This is really, if we had any other audit findings or any audit matters we had to discuss with you, they would be disclosed in this letter. I'm happy to report, except for the item we just discussed, we had no audit findings or issues or anything that we need to discuss with you today. Overall, the audit went very well, and the city is in good financial position. So with that, I'd like to take a moment and go through some of the operating results of the current year. And before I get into that, I just want to point out a couple things here. So obviously, when we go through this presentation, there will be historical information in here, 2 to 5 years of information. And 2021 and 2022 have been anything but normal. So we will see some rather large fluctuations due to COVID, the pandemic, unrecurring grant funding. And I'll do my best to kind of highlight some of the things that will be non-recurring in the future. The other thing I want to point out is I think everyone's aware of the American Rescue Plan funding that was provided to all local governments across the country. The city of Southgate did receive $3 million in ARPA funding, and I just want to point out that the way that revenue is recognized is a little bit unusual. So although you received $3 million, you only record the revenue when you spend the money. So in the current year, the city spent about $1 million, so you'll see $1 million in my graphs of revenue and expenses related to that. And the remaining $2 million that you received will be applied to future budgets when those funds are appropriated. So as I talk about ARPA, just understand the way that the accounting rules work for that. So with that, I will kind of jump into our slide presentation here. I do have our new intern, David Angelari, here to assist with the presentation. So we'll see what kind of job he does. So the first graph we're going to take a look at is a 3-year history of the city's general fund revenues. And as I mentioned before, you'll see 2022 is up substantially from 2021, so a $2.4 million increase in the current year. And as we look at the various components, you'll see almost every category has gone up, and a few different reasons for that. So when we look at licenses and permits and charges for service, there's about a $500,000 increase there, and that's really restoring those services to post-pandemic levels. So obviously there's a big decline in all activity in 2021. So in 2022, those activities were restored to more normal levels there. You will note that fines and forfeitures actually went down from 2021, is substantially down from 2020. That's one area where just your court fines and fees continues to not recover, and so that's something you'll need to continue to monitor going forward. The main item I want to mention here is the intergovernmental revenue line. So you'll see that there was $5.8 million in intergovernmental revenue in the current year, up about $840,000 from the prior year. And this includes both state funding and federal funding. And so what happened in 2022 is the city did, again, recognize $1 million of that ARPA money in the current year. There was also a $400,000 state brownfield grant that was brought in the current year, and also some increased state funding in there. And in prior year, there was also some specific COVID-19 specific federal dollars that were in there. So when you compare these two, 2021 and 2022 to 2020, you'll see a substantial increase, and a lot of that has to do with the COVID-19 and ARPA non-recurring money. So included in that line is about $1.5 million of funds that will not recur once those ARPA monies are expended. So I'd like to move to the next slide, just briefly talk about property taxes. So property taxes is the city's largest source of revenue. And we'll see here a 3-year chart of both the SEV of the city and the taxable value, and you'll see nice increases in the SEV. So the SEV is determined based on the market value of properties, and so you'll see some nice increases there, a 6% increase in 22 from 21. But again, just a reminder that the taxable value, which is used to derive your revenue, is capped at the lesser of 5% or inflation with the rules of Proposal A and Headley. So again, although the real estate market has recovered and things are going well there, the city only sees a revenue increase for the taxable value, which is limited by the Proposal A limit. So just pointing that out there. The next slide, just want to spend a quick minute on state shared revenue again, because this is the city's second largest source of revenue. And we have a really long history here, and the reason is, back in 2003, this was the top of the funding from the state. And just to remind you, state shared revenue, this is the state sharing sales tax money with local governments. And so back in 2003, the city was receiving about $3.6 million. We've seen substantial decline since then, and it's taken all the way till the current year, you'll see in 2022, where the city received $3.8 million. So it's taken, all that time, over 20 years to kind of get back to where you were back in 2003. And we always like to highlight here that the different sections of state shared revenue, the constitutional, the $3.1 million received in the current year, is the only guaranteed portion. The $646,000 of EVIP revenue sharing is contingent on the state's budget. So that's an appropriation each year. So again, you need to continually monitor what the state's doing with that money as you budget for the future. As we look at the expenditures for the general fund, again, similar to the revenue, you will see, a significant increase in 2022 from 2021, about $3.5 million. And again, a lot of that has to do with things that were deferred and just not incurred in 21, again, because of the shutdowns and the pandemic and things like that. So as we look at the most significant changes from 21 to 22, you'll see a $1.3 million increase in general government. And the primary reason for that is, I mentioned earlier, there was, a $400,000 brownfield grant. Well, the expenses related to that grant are recorded in the general government. There were additional contributions from the general government to the OPEB trust fund, the Fund Future Health Care Costs for Retirees. And there was also an increase in health insurance in general that increased the general government number. Public Works, you'll see Public Works expenses went up $1 million from prior year. The primary reason for that was there is a project to replace the roof at the DPS building, and so that's being paid for with those ARPA funds. But those expenditures, are increasing that number from last year. So again, kind of a non-recurring increase. And then the final item there, the public safety. Public safety expenditures went up about $1.2 million over last year, and the primary reason there were additional pension contributions related to the city's Act 345 millage. You levy the millage, and then you pay the expenses, and so those increased from where they were last year. Looking at the expenses in just a little different fashion, again, the same fashion, but rather than looking at this by department, we're looking at it by type of expense. And so as you can imagine, the city spends about 73.3% of the general fund budget on the costs of salaries, wages, fringes, retirement contributions. Those are the cost of your employees, which makes sense given your service organization. And that's pretty similar to where you've been in the past. And then the remaining, is made up with our sanitation costs, transfers to other funds, and then everything else in that bucket of other goods and services. And then we also like to point out, Southgate being a mature community with a lot of retirees, you'll see when we further break down those personnel costs, about $10.1 million is for active wages, benefits, things like that, and there's 9.7 that goes to the retirement contributions for retirement. So obviously the legacy costs are a substantial portion of the city's budget, and this will continue to be a challenge to continue to make those contributions. The next graph, this just kind of summarizes the revenue and expenses and gives you a look at a 5-year history here. And so the blue line is the revenue line, the red line is the expenditures, and you'll see for 2018 through 2020, they were pretty much on top of each other. And really what that meant is all the money that came in went out. So you weren't adding to or using fund balance. As I mentioned earlier, in 2021 and 2022, there were some non-recurring federal funds that really have been put into the city's general fund, which has really helped you, increase your fund balance, through this period of time. And in the current year, the city was able to add $716,000 to fund balance. And again, a lot of that had to do with, cost controls, but also projects being deferred due to, lack of people available to do projects and things like that. So those reserves will be carried forward to next year. So the city did end the year with $4.4 million in assigned and unassigned fund balance. which is about 16% of your annual expenses. And so usually we like to see fund balance in the 10 to 20% range there. So you're pretty much right in the middle of the average. And then the final graph we have here, which is really an impressive history here. This is the city's debt obligations for the general government. So this does not include any water and sewer fund, but the core debt of the city really has been going down substantially since 2010. And at the end of 22, you only had $2.6 million of outstanding bonds. But in the meantime, you've continued to invest in the community and continued to invest in capital infrastructure. And in the current year, you had about $2.5 million of investment in the city in a variety of capital assets, road improvements, things like that. And you've been able to do that with your cash reserves. So rather than issuing debt to pay for capital, you've been able to do it with the current resources that you have available and really bring this debt level down to very minimal. So great there. So in summary, I think the city has done a great job managing through the pandemic. I know it hasn't been easy to do, but you've really done it, and I feel like you've come out on the other side in a healthy financial position. Not that there's not challenges in the future, but I think you're set up to continue this trend going forward. Okay, so with that, that will conclude my structured remarks, but if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take those now.
Thank you, Bill. Is there any questions from council regarding the audit?
Madam Chairperson?
Councilman Colovis?
There's, it just brought back a memory from years ago. When you talk about, I guess, page 1, talking about fines, forfeitures, fees, and I presume it's all from the courthouse or 28th District Court. Okay, all right. I swear I wasn't in the grassy knoll, okay. Anyway, the jailing fees, did you look at that, what it costs when we send somebody to jail and they go to Wayne County Jail, and then about that, where would that be within this, the expenditures?
So slide 1 is the revenue side. You're talking the expense side of things.
Expense, correct. Or maybe Dave can jump in and as your assistant tonight.
Through the chair, the David Angelari, 2821 Biddle.
You look familiar. I've seen you up here, I think about 13 years, but I know you go way back. You must have started in high school. Go ahead.
Thank you. The expenditures for Wayne County Jail are actually in the police budget. So they are an item that we keep a close look on. We have several people that look at that on a monthly basis when it comes in. And they have kept in line where we budget them for at least the last 5 or 6 years.
Okay, great. And maybe this isn't the proper place. I didn't know if you had some involvement in that in doing the audit or whatever. But I know in the past, Wayne County, years ago, and maybe they still do, Wayne County will charge for, every night that somebody's in jail that we send over to there. And then when there were audits in the past done, it was found out that, monthly or whatever, that they were wrong. They were overcharging us. And so I just wondered, and I'm sure that still goes on, this monthly audit or quarterly audit or whatever it may be. David, if I may ask you, we're still auditing. Do we audit like monthly or quarterly?
Whenever we get the bill in, we take a look at that, and we know when the person that we sent down to Wayne County was released. Right. And so we add up the days, and any corrections that are made, we make that correction on the bill before we pay it.
Okay, great, thank you. You can do my home accounting. I guess the last question is the $3 million, what did you term that from the state?
So the American Rescue Plan, so the
Correct.
ARPA, often referred to as ARPA.
Okay. Is there any purse strings with the state or federal government of that money? In other words, do we have to account for it, or are we able to put it in the general budget? Do we have to only be able to use it for certain things?
Yes, there are certainly strings attached to that. So you would have signed a grant agreement with that lays out what you're allowed to spend those funds are on. And I understand, administration has looked at that and they monitor to make sure that they are being spent on appropriate items.
Is there a certain, last question, Is there a certain period of time that $3 million has to be used?
It has to be appropriated by the end of 2024.
Okay, well, thank you, and it was a great presentation, if I may, Madam Chairperson, compliment you and your firm, and is very detail-oriented. Thank you very much, and we all thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council? All right, thank you so much, Bill and your team at Plant Moran. Awesome presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you. For the 1 minute we have left, I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Marsh, to explain the agenda.
Okay,
Really quickly.
go as quickly as I can here. Thank you, Madam President. Under Communications A, the first item on the agenda is a request for council resolution authorizing the execution of the Wayne County Annual Permit Package. These are the permits that allow our DPS staff to do things like inspect sanitary sewers, repair sidewalks, occupy the Wayne County road right-of-way when they're doing repairs, and do other things like temporarily close roads for parades and other similar events. Are there any questions on item 1 under Communications A? Okay, seeing none. The next item on the agenda is a letter regarding the audit for fiscal year 2021 and 2022. Specifically, this item is recommending that council adopt a resolution to accept and approve the audit and the restated fund balance. Are there any questions from council? Seeing none, I believe that's all the time we have.
All right, and the work study, and now we will begin the 7 o'clock meeting for December 7th. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman George is excused. Councilman Kespa,
Here.
Councilman Graziani,
Present.
Councilman Clovis,
Present.
Councilman Farah,
Present.
Councilman Roush,
Here.
Councilman Smekey.
Here.
Okay, before we move on to the agenda, I know, Mr. Marsh, you had indicated there was a reason to amend the agenda for a couple items under A, if you want to just explain that really quickly.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Under Communications A today, we have a number of appointments by the mayor. Items 8, 9, and 10 should actually be replaced to Communications B. Those do not require council approval.
I'll take a motion if anyone would like to move to
Chairman.
amend. Councilman Farah,
I move that the letter from the mayor's appointments to the Water Board, appointment to the Cultural Arts and Special Events Commission, and appointment to the Ethic Board be moved from Communications A to Communications B, receive and file.
Support.
motion by Farah, supported by Clovis. Any discussion? Any objection? The agenda is amended. Now I will need a motion to approve the work study session minutes dated November 16th, 2022.
Madam Chairperson,
Councilman Clovis.
I make a motion that we approve the work study session minutes dated November 16, 2022.
Support.
Motion by Clovis, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. I need a motion to approve the regular city council meeting minutes dated November 16th, 2022.
Madam Chairman,
Councilman Roush.
I make a motion to approve the regular city council meeting dated November 16, 2022.
Support.
Motion by Roush, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. There's no scheduled persons in the audience, there's no consideration of bids, and there's no scheduled hearings. First item under Communications A is a memo from the administrator regarding resolution request authorizing execution of Wayne County permits A 23069. Madam Clerk.
Wayne County has provided the city with the 2023 annual permit package. The 2023 permit package includes the annual maintenance permit, the annual pavement restoration permit, and the annual permit for special events. The administration respectfully requests the city council pass the required blanket resolution which accomplishes the following. 1, agrees to fulfill all permit obligations and conditions. 2, to the extent allowed by law, hold harmless and defend Wayne County and its officials and employees against any and all damage claims, suits, or judgments of any kind or nature arising as a result of the permitted activity. 3, designates and authorizes Kevin Anderson, Director of Public Services, to sign the permits on behalf of the city of Southgate.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Madam Chair,
Councilman Farah.
I move this council authorize Kevin Anderson, the Director of Public Services, sign on behalf of the city of Southgate, and the resolution authorizing the execution of the blanket Wayne County permits A-23069.
Support.
Motion by Ferris, supported by Calovis. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Second is a memo from the Finance Director regarding the audit for fiscal year 21-22. Madam Clerk.
Under separate cover, you have previously received the audit from Plant Moran. The matter will also have been reviewed during your work-study session. Therefore, it is recommended that the City Council adopt a resolution which accepts and approves the audit for fiscal year 2021-22. Also due to Gatsby 54, the City Council is required to restate the fund balance as follows. General Fund, non-spendable prepaids, $150,733. Restricted, unspent property tax rubbish, $327,951. Unspent property tax, police and fire pension, $233,496. Low-income housing, $9,163. Building Department, $209,525. Committed county property tax chargebacks, $300,000. Computer software acquisition, $10,000. SINC is $136,000. Assigned workers' compensation, $400,000. Severance reserve, $1,400,000. Future working capital, $300,000. Future OPEB, $400,000. Future budget shortfalls due to deficiencies in court revenue, $600,000. Capital project funds committed, police cars, $438,567. Property acquisition, $115,116. Fire rescue equipment, $160,000. Assigned capital projects, $139,076. Your favorable consideration of this matter is therefore requested.
Madam Chairperson.
Councilman Clovis.
Thank you. I move a resolution that the adoption of the, excuse me. I move that a resolution that we accept and approve the audit of 21-22 as set forth by Madam Clerk. Thank you.
Support.
Motion by Calovis, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Oh,
Yeah, that's right. The motion, it
Mr.
doesn't do
Mayor.
with the motion, but I just wanted, we didn't have a lot of time under work study because we ran out of time, but I know one of the things in regards to the state shared revenue that I wanted to point out too, even though we're now approaching the combination of the statutory and the new EVIP, or used to be something else, it's now approaching that because of the constitutional amount is getting larger. And we're finally meeting 2003 numbers from the state. But if you look at the statutory amount in which communities over a generation have built their budgets over, in 2003, we were at $1.6 million in statutory. We're only at $600,000 today. So it'll be a long time before that statutory amount comes anywhere near where it ended in 2003. So I just wanted to highlight that. Even though state aid or state revenue sharing is coming close, it's certainly not because of the statutory amount. It's because the constitutional amount, the one that they're required to provide to cities, is getting larger over time. So that's really troublesome as you look at how, as I've always said, the state has really solved their budgetary problems on the backs of the municipalities in the state. So I just wanted to bring that out because I didn't have a chance to do it in work study. But thank you very much.
thank you. Moving on, third is a letter from the mayor regarding appointments to the planning commission. Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that I have made the following appointments to the Plan Commission for a term expiring December 2025. Priscilla Ayers-Reese, Chad Godbout, and Ed Golick. Your concurrence on these appointments is greatly appreciated.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Madam Chair.
Councilman Zemecki.
Move to concur.
Support.
Motion by Zemecki, supported by Roush. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Next is a letter from the mayor regarding appointments to the Tifa board. Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that I have made the following appointments to the TIFA Board for a term expiring December 2026. Jeremy Reyna, Tom Gasso, and Tony Lajeunesse. Your concurrence on these appointments is greatly appreciated.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Madam Chairman,
Councilman Roush?
I make a motion we concur with the administration with the appointments to the Tifa board with the expiring December 2026.
Support.
Motion by Roush, supported by Calovis. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Next is a letter from the mayor regarding appointments to Compensation Commission and DDA. Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that I have made the following appointments to the Compensation Commission for a term expiring December 2029. Patty Snyder, Alex McNeely. To the Downtown Development Authority for a term expiring December 2026. Alexander Leonard, Ronald Moran, and Mohammed Abdorba. Your concurrence on these appointments is greatly appreciated.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Madam Chairman,
Councilman Roush?
I make a motion we concur with the administration with the appointments to the Compensation Commission and the Downtown Development Authority.
Support.
Motion by Roush, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Next is a letter from the mayor regarding appointments to Building Authority, Dangerous Buildings, Hearing Board, and Municipal Employees Civil Service Commission. Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that I have made the following appointments to the Building Authority for a term expiring December 2028, Greg Tuppensee. To the Dangerous Building Hearing Board for a term expiring December 2025, Bob Hines. To the Municipal Employee Civil Service for a term expiring December 2025, Sam Galanis. Your concurrence on these appointments is greatly appreciated.
Madam Chairperson.
Councilman Calovis.
Thank you. I was jumping a little bit ahead there. Make a motion that we concur in the mayor's recommendation of appointments to the boards and commissions. The Building Authority, Greg Tuppensee, great guy for many years with the city. Dangerous Building Hearing Board, Bob Hines, very involved with the city, great guy. And Municipal Employees Civil Service, Sam Glanis, he's great. He's got to be a great guy.
Support.
So, look, okay. Support.
Right, motion by Calovis, supported by Roush. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Last is a letter from the mayor regarding appointments to Board of Zoning Appeals. Madam Clerk.
Please be advised that I have made the following appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals for a term expiring December 2023, Jill Stefan. This appointment fills a vacancy on the board. To the Board of Zoning Appeals for a term expiring December 2025, Pat Poyer and Gary Martin. Your concurrence on these appointments is greatly appreciated.
What's the pleasure of the council?
Madam Chairman,
Councilman Roush.
I make a motion we approve the appointments to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
Support.
Motion by Roush, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Next is Communications B. First is a letter from the mayor regarding appointment to the Water Board. Madam Clerk.
Madam Chairman,
Oh,
so
receive
it
and
just
file.
need to be received and
You just want
filed.
to receive and file? Okay,
Yep.
all right.
Do you want me to
We've
mention
read
the
it,
appointments?
we've read it before. That's
Well,
fine.
I
If
can-
you, if you would want, if you want to read, that's fine.
Or do you want to do it?
You can read it.
Okay, well, I was going to say, to the Water Board for a term expiring April 2024, Andrew Stefan. This appointment fills a vacancy created by Brian Wolf's resignation. And also to the Cultural Arts and Special Events would be Marion Bolo. For a term expiring December 2024 is Marion Bolo, Cindy Burley, Nancy Gratz, Anna Mitchell, Robin Craig, Carol Wilkins, Beverly Sunday, and Shirley St. Sylvier. And also to the Ethic Boards is Karen LeBeau and John Straub. The first one's for a term of 2026, the next one's 2027.
Now, can that can just be one motion, correct? To
Yeah.
receive and file?
One motion,
Okay.
yeah.
Pleasure of the council.
Madam Chairman,
Councilman Roush.
I make a motion now that we receive and file.
Support.
Motion by Roush, supported by Zemecki. Any discussion or objection? Motion carries, receive and file. There are no ordinances. Is there any old business the council would like to discuss? Seeing none, is there any new business the council would like to discuss? Seeing none, we'll move on to unscheduled persons in the audience. If you'd like to address council, please come up to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, everyone. My name is Robert Plowski. I represent the Wayne County Youth Council, District 15, and I live at 12757 Chestnut here in Southgate. Tonight, I want to be able to take a moment to reflect on all of the great work the city has done this past year. We couldn't have done it without the city, the contractors, but also our brownfield development and our new building that will be starting development hopefully soon, and continuing that process going into 2023, into 24. But also I want to be able to recognize some figures here in Southgate that have really done us, great service. I want to recognize all of our council members that have served 20 years or more, Councilman Philip Roush, Councilman Dale Zemecki, Councilman Bill Kalovis and Councilman Mark Farah. You guys have done wonderful things for the city, and I really appreciate all the good things you've done, and I look forward to, seeing more going into next year.
I don't fit under the 20-year, maybe 13-year, lucky 13, but not 20. And I started while I was in high school, so, yeah, I look so young. But I'm sorry, please continue, right?
Yep, continue, Robert.
No worries. And the one thing that really sticks out in this city, and we have a lot of young leaders going out into the city and making a difference in their own community, their own county, their own state. And one of the things that really sticks out, and this actually is a really close friend of mine, his name's Mark Kramer. He was a school board member, trustee, and secretary from 2015 all the way to 2017. He inspired himself to go to school board meetings for the last 2 years, and he ended up getting appointed and running for school board. So it's not just him that makes a difference in this community. Also, really to shine some light on Council President Zoe Cuspa and Councilman Christian Graciani. Don't worry, you're still young, Christian. I'm going to put that out there. But, it's not just people following in their parents' footsteps or doing what's best for their community. And one of the last people I want to recognize here tonight is our very own mayor, Joseph Cuspa. It went from being a school board member at an early age of 19 and starting his career here in Southgate and working his way up to mayor. Your work really shows, especially the amount of partnerships, the amount of work and the communication and the community pride with our students. I've mentioned this at pretty much, I would say 2 months back at a city council meeting when I was in 5th grade and you honored Autumn Diedzik for the Arbor Day competition at Ford Line Elementary, and her tree actually still sits to this day. She has probably forgotten about it, but her work really shows. It's not just anybody, it's our students, it's our community pride, and that's what keeps Southgate on our feet. And I'm just happy to see this community has grown from being this one city that didn't really have a lot of economic development, just didn't really have the infrastructure, but now we finally have stuff because we have amazing leadership. We have new businesses coming in, we have residents moving in, we have amazing leadership that wants to communicate with the residents, and we have the students that really keep our city on our feet. But as always, I appreciate the time and look forward to speaking with you guys next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Robert.
Any other unscheduled persons in the audience that would like to speak? Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Steve Woodbeck, 13540 Pearl. When I was last here, we talked about the trash collection. I heard some of the most ridiculous excuses. So I've been working with the county to try to figure out the campaign financing. For some reason, all the website is blank. So we'll get that worked out, and we'll circle back to that another date. But what I wanted to talk about tonight was the crime in this city and, excuse me, what we're doing about it. I have yet again been broke into. They ripped the locks right out of my car doors this time. So when I call the police over to the house, he tells me it's all these drug houses we have, and these people just roam the neighborhoods looking for people to break into. And then I call the insurance company, and they tell me, oh yeah, it's really bad in Southgate right now. So I'm thinking to myself, well, what the hell are we doing about it? So other cities have used target cars, and they put GPS trackers and items, and they track these people down and they get rid of them. And all I hear up here is we're worried about double driveways and chickens in backyards. I don't understand why the criminals aren't the ones being targeted here. Why are the citizens here? I think it was is it Mr. Marsh? I'm terrible with names, I apologize. I think it was him that said last time that citizens were calling complaining about the poor service of the trash collection. And the next thing you know, we have stricter enforcement, harder ordinances. It's ridiculous. I don't understand it. So I hope that we're going to have some better solutions than we had the last meeting for this problem, because it's much more serious. And I want to leave you with one final question. If we're really worried about the aesthetics of the city, what do we think is going to happen to our property values when people start putting windows and bars and stuff on their doors because they don't feel safe here anymore? It's got to stop. We got to do something. If this is some sort of defund the police situation, we need to fix that. Nobody in this community wants that, I assure you. If this is the police chief isn't doing a good job, then we need to fix that. If this is the judges aren't keeping these people off the street once they're caught, then we need to fix that. Let people know. We'll get new judges. Whatever it needs to be, we need to fix this problem. So please, do something about this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor?
Madam Chair, I just want to, in terms of the last couple of statements you made, very defund the police efforts, that is very contrary to what Southgate believes in, what this board, what this council has supported over the years, and what the administration has recommended. We have not, even through our darkest hours, in 2009, 2010, 2011, when we lost nearly 30% of our taxable income for our budget, we maintained our public safety budgets. So I'm not sure, I know there's a point of frustration when crime happens to us. But I'd like to have the public safety officials address that to you and talk some of the circumstances as it relates to your specific incident. I think that's warranted. But to suggest that the city of Southgate somehow is defunding police or somehow neglecting our obligation to keep the residents safe, I think is a misnomer on a grand scale. And this board, this administration has been consistent about supporting our police budgets. Now, I will tell you, as every community will tell you that is interested in public safety, it's a real challenge to get new officers. And we have 2 or 3 programs now, and we'll probably be announcing another one next meeting, to attract young talent to the police department and to the profession of law enforcement. It's been very, very difficult over the last couple of years to fill those ranks. So even though we fund our public safeties fully and continue to do that, sometimes we have a challenge of filling positions. But that doesn't mean we're not committed as a city to keep our residents safe. And so I'd like to look, if you want to come in and talk about the programs, talk about what we're doing, as opposed to making blanket statements at the council meeting, I'd be more than happy to do that. Dan would also, and so would our public safety officials. But nothing's going to be solved at this table tonight. It's got to be solved through and through the city and do the things that we need to do. So I think we're doing that. I think we're doing the funding. There are occasions, are we going to catch every criminal? I don't think so. I don't think anybody would be expected to. But we certainly want to create an environment in Southgate where people feel safe. And I think for the most part they do. But it's not a result of lack of funding our public safety departments.
Madam Chairperson.
Councilman Clovis?
Thank you. I certainly echo what the mayor stated. We don't defund the police, none of the first responders whatsoever. You're more than welcome to participate at any of the subcommittees or the committees that take part. I'm glad to see that you're at the meeting. I'm glad that you're voicing up concern because out of 30,000 or 29,000 residents in Southgate, we see how many people are at the council meeting right now. And the majority are department heads. So I really appreciate you being here, and I truly mean that, we all do. The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I understand your concerns, we all do, we have empathy for your concerns. I don't think you're gonna find, and I'm not making any excuses, it's just reality, and that is, I don't think you're gonna find any community that's gonna be 100% safe. And I understand you're not looking at 100%, but whether you're in Birmingham, Bloomfield, Oxford, we would all think that Oxford, a bedroom community by Lake Orion, who I have a relative live there, is just this beautiful, quaint area on the water. And what happened at the school. And I'm sure that there was not, I'm sure there was a little negligence there, I'm just gonna say it that way. But it happened. And so even the bedroom communities have crime, have horrible crime sometimes. So I believe, and I feel good about our police department. If you see something that you don't like about the police department, certainly the administration is all ears. They're not going to refuse it. In fact, they'll sit down, like a lot of cities, the mayor won't meet or the administration won't meet with a citizen. Not this one. They will meet and they will discuss it. So please, I appreciate your concerns. Maybe we need more neighborhood watch programs, which we really don't exist that much here. That would be wonderful. I'd love to see you active in that. Do you say, well, why do I have to be active? I pay property taxes, you should do it. You know what? You still have to be active. You can't sit back and let a third party do it, especially if you want to be involved. So, you know, I appreciate it, like the mayor and the council. Everybody appreciates your viewpoint and what you're stating, but there's no perfect community. And whether you're in Detroit, whether you're in Ecorse or Birmingham or Farmington, there's gonna be crime, and there's a lot of crime in those communities. I've seen the statistics. Southgate is pretty good. Southgate is very good, in fact. Hopefully with the video and the rings, and things like that, we'll cut back. But certainly Southgate has a very quick response time. It isn't like the larger municipalities where you're gonna wait around a half an hour, an hour for a police officer to show up. You're probably gonna have somebody in about 3 to 5 minutes, if that. And you're probably gonna have two cars there. So I'm pretty proud. It's unfortunate, the crime that does happen, but it happens. And as to the judicial, we probably got one of the more conservative, stricter judges in the city of Southgate, 28th District Court. And I've heard that she is strict and she upholds the law and she's not timid to put people in jail. And she does put them in jail. So she's doing everything that can be done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Woodbeck, one other thing in terms of transparency, just so you understand that we had this practice for quite some time now. On our website, there is a crime tracking option that you can go to. You can look at an area of the city. You can track the kind of incident that occurred. It's all coded. It's all on there for everybody's consumption. You can take a stretch of time, a day, a week, or even longer, and see where all of that has happened. So we try to be very transparent in what's happening. Crime is going to happen. We can't prevent all of it. It's how we react to it. But one of the things is we're not trying to hide from anything that happens here in Southgate. We put this in place to make sure there is that transparency with the community to say these things are happening, so that you are vigilant in terms of, and we will have, the police will come out to a neighborhood or to an individual, say, what can we do to help? Whether that's increased lighting, whether that's other things that could be done. We just did that in a part of the town too, not in your area, but another that asked, what can we do? And Bill alluded to the ring cameras and so forth. That's one thing, but a lot of them, because it's kind of it's on the north side of town, there aren't a lot of street lights, and it's recommended that they put on more lights in the evening to try and deter that and to suggest that. So we try to interact as much as we can when we're asked to interact with a neighborhood or with a street or with an individual home. But we are very transparent in what kind of incidents happen in Southgate, and it's tracked on a day. It is a daily, Joe? I'm sorry. Is it daily? Is it updated daily, or how many, within the week? Okay, daily. So, again, you can see what kind of things are happening in town, all over town. We're not trying to hide from anything, but they certainly use that to address how they police and how things are done.
Madam Chairperson,
Councilman
if I
Clovis.
may, one last time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Make it quick, please.
I will. In addition, well, go ahead. I've said enough. Go
Okay.
ahead.
All right,
I've
thank
said
you.
enough.
Thank you for your comments as well. Any other unscheduled persons in the audience that would like to speak? Seeing none, we'll move on to claims and accounts. Councilman Graziani.
Move this council approve warrant 1462 in the amount of $2,457,295.40.
Support.
Motion by Graziani, supported by Roush. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
Madam Chairman.
Chairperson,
Councilman Clovis.
thank you. Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Motion by Clovis, supported by Roush. We're adjourned.